Guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Passionate Naija Physio in the UK. If today is your first time on this channel, welcome to this channel, and don't forget to subscribe. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for always coming back to my channel. Right, so in today's video I'll be discussing about the tips that helped me get my job, or the tips that helped me pass my NHS interview. So this is what I'll be explaining today. If you are interested, please stay tuned and don't go anywhere. Right, for NHS interview, I've already explained some of the ways to get to that interview stage. And if you have not seen that video, if you're interested in seeing that video, if you're interested in checking out the things you need to do in order to get to interview stage, in order for NHS to invite you for interview, I'll put the link in the description box. You can watch it anytime. Right, the first thing you need to do is to prepare for your interview. If you have been invited for NHS interview, congratulations, and you're on the road to your dream job. Exactly, you're on the road, you are just there, you are very near to your dream job. Right, so you need to prepare. Once you've received your invitation, you have to be prepared. You have to go back to the application, reread the job description and person specification, because you might have made a lot of applications. You might even have forgotten about this particular job they are calling you for interview for. Do you understand? So you have to go back to the application, reread the job description and person specification to be sure of what to say, how to say. Make sure you prepare for anything, prepare for questions that they could ask you. You understand? Make sure you reread the job description and person specification. So there are some questions that are, will I say, common? Yeah, there are some questions that are very common when it comes to NHS, irrespective of the role you are applying for, irrespective of who you are. If this is just, these tips are just general NHS interview questions. You understand? So there are some, I've done like 12 to 13 interviews, and I can tell you that majority of these interviews, they do ask me some of these questions. Like, they are basically the standard questions they ask everyone. You understand? So you want to prepare beforehand. Back to my preparation, you want to prepare beforehand for all these questions. You understand? Before you get to that stage. So some of these questions are, there are some that are behavioral questions, there are some that are questions on NHS values or NHS core values. You understand? So these are things you should prepare for before the interview date. So I'll be telling you about some YouTube channels that I've been following or that I've watched that have really been helpful, especially for interviews. Sincerely, guys, if you are to follow them, if you are to follow especially one of them, if you are to follow one of them, I know a lot of people, or some of you might have been following this particular channel that I will mention. If you have been following the channel, you understand that the tips or the explanation this guy is always putting out for people that are applying for NHS job or any other interview, any interview at all, has really been helpful. This really helped me a lot. I will not lie, this has helped me a lot. So if you are interested, you can check on careervidz. I will put the name on the description box, or the link to the guy's channel on the description box. I don't know him from anywhere, I'm not making any advert for him, but I just want you to know that I just want to share the tips that I've made use, or the tips that I've used that have helped me getting this job, that have helped me getting my NHS job. So this careervidz guy is really good at interviews. It's really good at interview tips, so especially when it comes to NHS. So I use this his channel out was very well. Questions like, tell me about yourself. So don't assume that since they have your application, or they've seen your supporting information, they should know things about you. No, it doesn't work that way. So there are some point, this question is just like the first question they will ask you, and it's also testing your confidence, your tone, the way you are able to compose yourself, how bold you are. So trust me, if you are able to answer this first question carefully and correctly, boldly, with confidence, even if in yourself, deep in yourself, you know that you've answered this question correctly. So that will determine how far or how well your other questions or your interview will go. Sincerely, for if you but if you mess up this first question and you are not able to answer it very well, there's this disorganized that you might become later on during the interview. Or this questions like, tell me about yourself, or what are the skills or qualities that you possess that you think is relevant to this role, or what are the reasons why you think you are fit for this role. They can just rephrase the question in different ways, do you understand? But make sure you prepare for it before that time, so that you'll be able to say something meaningful. So questions like, tell me about yourself, the qualities, what are the qualities or the skills you possess that match to the job roles, you understand? Or tell me about yourself. So these are questions that they might likely ask you first during your interview. So I would advise you go on that channel, watch how this man explain it very well, and trust me, you will never get it wrong if you are able to get your own answers before that day. Make sure you write out your own answer, record yourself, talk to the camera or video, and then watch yourself later on to be sure that you are able to deliver. And there's this other questions that ask about NHS core values. I will advise you read about NHS core values, NHS general NHS core values, and then individual trust, they have their values. And trust me, they might, like, the possibility that they will ask you this, the probability that they will ask you this core values is high. So you make sure that you understand each value, and then you write out some examples, or you write out some examples of when you have demonstrated each of the value, because they would definitely, let me not say definitely, they might ask you these questions, and it will be very good for you to have answers already. And when they ask you, you won't be surprised, you understand, and you have your answers at your fingertips instead of ticking into here. I will not lie to you, if you have not prepared for all these questions, it will be very difficult for you to start framing answers on that day. Sincerely, it will be very difficult for you. I was once in that shoe. It will be difficult for you to give answers to those questions if you don't prepare for them. So make sure you read about the core values, know their meaning, and then write out examples of when you have demonstrated the core values. There is general NHS core values, and there are core values for specific trust. Make sure you do both, but sometimes or most times they are interwoven or interrelated. Nonetheless, make sure you check for both. Check for the general general NHS core values, and the trust you are interviewing with, check their trust values as well. Make examples of the time you have demonstrated each of the trust cores, you understand the core values, and then when they ask you this question, you will be able to answer effectively. Another thing which is peculiar to each and every one, which is, this is not like a generalized question, but it's a question that they will ask you about the role you are applying for. For example, as an MSK physiotherapist that I am, I know that, okay, these are my roles, these are my responsibilities. Do you understand? I know the conditions they might likely ask me. In your preparation, you have to read about your roles, about your responsibilities. You have to read about it. You have to, like, point out and pen down some of the questions they might likely ask you. Sincerely, that has helped me a lot. And the next thing you also want to do is to practice some of the questions that are being asked in your application. You can look for a relative or a friend that you can practice this with. Tell them to ask you questions in the application, and then you give them the answers, you understand? So you have to practice as often as you can, as many times as you can, because this will prepare you, sincerely, to prepare you very well before the day, you understand? To prepare you will be sure of your confidence, your tone, your body language. Everything has to be properly placed, everything has to be Everything has to work together. Your tone, your body language, your confidence, your eye contact, and all of that. So you can practice that with your friend, your colleague, or even your relative, you understand. But if you don't have anyone close to you, or you feel you are shy, sometimes you may be shy of doing that kind of thing, because at some point I had to look for another strategy to help me with that practice. So I came up with the idea of me asking myself question and then answering it, but I will video myself, watch it over and over again, check where I've made mistakes and correct the mistakes, check my body language, the tone and everything. So you can also practice with a video. Make a video of yourself, check everything, and be sure that your mistakes, your body language, the tone, and then you have confidence in you, and you maintain eye contact, because these are some of the things they will also mark in your interview, and you don't want to just lose out any points. You want to be the first applicant they will choose for the job. So you have to make sure that all these things are being practiced before. Tip I will give you is to plan very well before that day. A quite number of interview now are being done online. It's just few people or few employers will request for face-to-face interview, and if they do and you cannot make it for face-to-face, you can always email them and inform them that your location or your availability for that day may not be, you might not be able to make it to that location for face-to-face. You can request for online, and of course most of them do grant online interviews. So if you request for that and they grant your online interview, please make sure that your network is working perfectly. Check the link. Of course they will send you link either few days or a day before the interview, or some hours before the interview. So most likely most of them do send out link probably before, some days before the interview. So make sure the link is working perfectly. Make sure the link is working perfectly. Sincerely, test the link, click on the link, and be sure that the link is working. And then make sure that you have a very good internet, because they have time allocated to each and every applicant. So you don't want to waste your time checking out for network, running from one room to another. Make sure you go to a very good location that has a very good network. Do you understand? And then the location you are using, make sure there is no noise. You want to listen to them carefully, you want to understand the question, and then you want them to understand your answers as well. So you need a quiet environment for you to be able to make a very good interview. So make sure you plan your location, your network, everything. And if you are going for face-to-face interview, I've done both before. I've done face-to-face interview for NHS, and I can tell you that most of the hospitals are very big. So you want to plan your journey very well. You want to be sure that you are there before time, because you might, especially if you have not been going to the hospital before, you really do not know the location, you really do not know how the hospital is being arranged, you don't know the venue. So you have to be there as early as possible for you to be able to locate the venue of the interview. Exactly. So when you are when you leave as early as possible, you have enough time getting to the location, and then preparing and managing, composing yourself before the interview, if that makes sense. And then the last tip that I think everyone or most people usually miss out is the last part of interview, when your interviewer is asking you about the questions you have for them. So they will ask you, do you have any question for us? If you say no, to them it will look somehow that, so you are coming, you don't have any question for us. Do you think you know everything about the trust? Do you think you know everything about the job? Do you think you know everything about NHS? You understand? So make sure you prepare some questions, reasonable questions, I may say, reasonable questions that you can ask your interviewer. Questions like, is there any, like, what support do they give to, it might not be financial, it might be like well-being support kind of thing, like what support do they give to new employees? Do you understand? That kind of question. So you shouldn't ask them about, and how much are you paying me, because these things are already on the job application website. So those things you don't have to ask them again. There are some questions that are specific to your role, or questions that you think you really want answers to, but not questions about how much will you be paying me, what kind of. You can ask them about your work hours if it is not stated. If it is not stated on the job website, of course it will have been there, but if you think you want to know about the schedule, or like the work hours, like within the week, or how is it, like the rotations kind of thing, you can ask them and they will be like happy to answer your questions. But you telling them you don't have any answers, any question for them, might give them bad impression about you, that okay, so you think you know everything about NHS, or you think you know everything about the trust. Sure, you understand? So make sure you ask them 1 or 2 questions, not more than 2, if I may say, or not more than 3, but it should be like between 1 to 3 questions that you think they are very relevant and reasonable for them to answer. So these are the tips I would like to share with you guys, and I hope and pray that you get that job you have always been praying for. Right, see you in my next video, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, don't forget to subscribe. Right, bye.